What's up guys, it's Shannon and welcome back to the Eheng podcast. As usual, this episode is brought to you by The Makeover Guys. If you guys have just received the keys to your investment unit, please do check out their website, get an instant quotation, because personally I'm also a customer, I'm also a tenant living in one of their fully furnished units. So far so good. So go check it out. And today we will answer a question from email. This is from Wendy, and the title is rather cool. Gratitude to you for my first home. Yes. Hi Sean, I've been living in my family home and my in-laws home, which are all landed houses. I've been staying in a landed home in Cheras, KL for 40 years. From my parents' home, 3-story, to my in-laws' home, 2-story. The home's designs are mostly without good air ventilation, and the uppermost floor is always very hot as the roof is directly exposed to the hot sun. As I started to have 2 kids of my own, I find it a hassle to climb up and down the stairs as I grew older, when I forgot to take my stuffs from upstairs to downstairs, or to call my kids down for meals. They would prefer to have their privacy and mostly hide themselves in the rooms upstairs. Hence, the bonding gets lesser and lesser. I've been following you in YouTube since 2019, where it guided me to make my first home purchase during the pandemic year 2020. I bought a 2,200 square feet condo, 335 per square feet at a residence located in Sungai Long, with 5 room and 5 bathroom, and is facing Sungai Long Golf and Country Resort. It is very rare for people to move away from owning a landed home, which is like nasi lemak property that you always been sharing. After following you for so many properties, I knew I had made the good choice for my family home. Because, number 1, there's no more land area for high-rise condo, blocking the view, and air ventilation is perfect. Number 2, Sungai Long and Mahkota Cheras is a perfect township as it has all the amenities that a family would need. Primary school, secondary school, university, hospital, and shop lots. Number 3, my 2,200 square feet unit comes with extended balcony terrace, giving me more space for my family. Each kid having the room to themselves and a study room, which is also like a band room. Number 4, no more staircases, easing our movement as we prepare for our aging process while maintaining the bonding with our kids. Number 5, my kids have also enjoyed the home without staircase as they can access everything so easily. Hence, me and my husband are deeply appreciative for all the work you have done to the society. Continue doing what you do. We would also love to have you and invite you to a property review at our unit in Sungai Long. Always your follower, Wendy. Wow, and they actually sent in some cool pictures of the unit. Thank you very much, Wendy. Thank you very much. And as much as I want to take credit for it, right, I would always give back the credit to you guys for the initiative of logging into YouTube, a platform that was meant for entertainment in the first place. Instead, we use it for education purposes, for knowledge purposes. Therefore, it results in a good home purchase for yourself. Good job. Anyway, this is a topic that gets a lot of heat from a lot of people, especially those who have always considered landed property as the only acceptable property for their lifestyle. So after traveling around Malaysia, right, I noticed that this romantic feeling towards landed houses only applies to the rest of Malaysia besides Penang folks, because they got no land. So the rest of us, right, for folks in JB lah, KL lah, Melaka lah, Ipoh lah, Kuching lah, Sabah lah, all of us are just very familiar with landed houses, and most of us grow up in one. But if we were to look into the era of construction, the era of housing typology at that time, there are not many high-rises. The only high-rises available were mainly office buildings, hotels located in city center, because land were cheap and building technology is also not very matured just yet. All developers were still landed homes developer. But before we go into the debate between landed terrace house versus an apartment, right, there's something to highlight where she mentioned like the unit that she bought, right, is at 335 per square feet only. Means, right, a lot of people misunderstood price per square feet as the indicator of the price, as we always use for investment, right? When we want to invest, we look into the median price of the location of the address before we choose to invest or not. So if it's 700 per square feet, average. If we buy above it, then we are not so smart, but we buy below it, then very good. There's also something to take note when we do such research. Most of the time, this is also a sales tactic used by developers or salesperson. They tell you the price per square feet that is the lowest in the development, and that is usually the unit that is the largest. Bigger units will tend to have lower price per square feet, and smaller units will tend to have very high price per square feet. Why? Because the ultimate price is going to be a difference. For example, a 500 square feet unit, even if you put in 1,000 per square feet, it's only $500,000. But when you market $500,000 to everybody, wow, it's very affordable, ma. They don't think about per square feet. But when we put 1,000 per square feet on a 1,000 square feet unit, or in her case, 2,000 square feet unit, right, it's going to be 2 million. Walao, right? So during our research work in which property to invest, right, please do take note on the average. Because that's one of the frequently asked questions during research, like what data should I tie into? Maybe you can dwell in a little bit, right? Besides looking into the price per square feet, for example, in Mont Kiara, it's around 800 per square feet. That's the average price around the market of property, of projects around Mont Kiara. But if you were to buy a new project, let's first compare new against new. So if the one that I'm buying is new and it's 700 per square feet, then you look into the median of the location, right? It's 800 per square feet. Yay, actually it's a very smart move. Then we add in the next layer to the research, the size of the unit. So if the size of the unit that you're buying is 2,500 square feet, you need to compare products of equal build up for it to make sense. For example, if you're buying a 2005, maybe compare to a 2002, compare a 2001. Don't go and compare a 800 square feet unit, because the price per square feet will down. Then only we talk about how many number of rooms. The tricky part will be a 1,000 square feet, which is 3 room, a 750 square feet, also 3 room. Then it's pretty close. So I hope these guidelines will help when we do price comparison before we buy into a unit. And this usually applies to new projects only, like the one sub-sale that I bought in Mont Kiara, right? I immediately just tied to the neighbor's unit. So my neighbor renting 4,000, pretty solid, I will get 4,000, but I got higher, so yay. And I'm actually unveiling this brand new trend of unit layouts. After going through so many property reviews, new, old, existing, I realized developers are addressing the extreme right now. So usually when you go into the market, it's always 680 square feet, then you have 1,850, 1,001, 1,005. So it's usually products of these sizes. And the more we go into the city center, the smaller it gets. But lately, around last year to today, I've seen extreme units where the build up is 420, 380 square feet only, where this is mainly addressing short-term stay, mainly addressing privacy for dwellers, because that's the only thing they can afford. So even if you charge 1,500 per square feet, it's still 600,000 for a unit in Bukit Bintang or KLCC or TRX. And I guess this is also partly because of the DBKL partition restriction. So last year, for those who don't know what happened, right, there's a ban for partitions within the unit. Investors usually they will partition up their living room into 2 more bedrooms to accommodate more people into the unit so they can generate higher rental, but it's also to satisfy the demand for smaller rooms within the market. However, DBKL has raised this ruling against all this partition, and I think as a result, now developers also work around it and build small units. I think sooner or later, let's just put it in record, right? Sooner or later, buildings in KL will be sold in floor plate manner, which means in one floor plate, it's meant to be like a hostel where there's going to be like maybe 12 units, 15 units, smaller units, right? But there's a common area of living, games room, common bath, common workspace within one floor plate itself, and the developers will be selling this floor plate individually. Maybe this will be a very interesting concept. Yes, one unit will be very, very expensive, but Malaysia don't have any shortage of the Uber rich trend. Maybe there's a potential market for such product type. I just want to put it out here first because I don't know, feeling very creative today. Anyway, back to the extreme products. This is a very small unit, but we are also seeing ultra big units of apartments. For example, this one is 2002, then lately we have checked out like 2001, 2005 within Mont Kiara, within Damansara, within Tropicana area. And the sales number for those units are also very, very good. And this is where the discussion will come in. Landed terrace house versus a 2,000 square feet apartment. Let's break it down. To me, technically, the very first difference of this different typology, right, will be the relationship of the residents to the car. ultimately that's it. The entire experience of driving back home into the car porch, going back home, and when you titit, you can still hear the car, right? That's the experience. When you dine in, when you go back to the bedroom, I left something in the car, it's very easy to go in, it's very easy to load the kids, it's very easy to load groceries, unload groceries. So the relationship between the car and the user to the house, right, it's very, very close. So the car door to the front door of the house is very close. For condo, then there will be a lot more checkpoints after I park in the car. Okay, before even parking in the car, I need to go in through the security access, going up the ramp, park, come out to the lift lobby, titit, go into the lift, titit, go to the unit, smart lock, only I reach the house. If I were to forget anything, then you go back down and come back up again. So it will be a hassle, especially when we go grocery shopping with a kid that absolutely loves to run. Speaking from experience, right? I will need to load the kid first, bring him up the unit, then only I come back down and load the groceries, only go back up again. And if I'm alone, I will need to leave the groceries in the car first before my wife come back, so only I can go back in. Yeah, so that's the hassle that we see in terms of lifestyle, but the benefit then for condos will be the facilities deck, where you have awesome facilities for the kids, especially if they are slightly past infant stage. So infant stage, I still am very, very fearful because of the pool in case you don't know how to swim. And not all facilities are children friendly. But once they reach like 5-6 years old toddler level, right, then it's going to be a good spot for them to just burn their energy. Of course, these will always come with the what if COVID come back, what if lockdown again. Up to you lah. So if you really think COVID were to come back again, then because during lockdown, residents are not allowed to use the common areas. I understand. For landed, then usually if it's an individual title house, you won't have such things. Right outside your house is immediately the road, unless there's like a common taman. But common taman, so far, bringing my kid around, I have yet to see a properly maintained taman. Every time the slides are broken, every time the pathways are uneven, landscape are not maintained, you'll be puddle here, weed there. Generally not as pleasant as the facility decks where we pay money to maintain. Of course, this will differ if your landed house is within a stratified format. Then you will enjoy similar things lah, of course. But if it's a stratified format, then we need to discuss about the distance away from the city, because usually stratified, gated and guarded landed houses are not going to be very, very close to the city because of the scarcity of land. Usually when people build stratified landed projects, the amount of canvas required is big, is huge. And we don't have any more such canvases within city center. So usually they will be further away. If you're okay with the distance, then fine. Then we talk about build up, right? Let's say a 2,000 square feet terrace house versus a 2,000 square feet apartment. For landed house, usually it's split between levels. So 2 levels, sometimes 3-story. I always am not a fan of 3 stories because if you were to buy a 3-story house, right, technically the staircase takes up around 18 to 20% of the build up already. So when you buy a house, right, you're paying money for the staircase space, which technically I cannot justify it lah. And that results in a different experience when you visit a 2,000 square feet apartment, right? That is 1 level, right? It feels amazing. Because of the terrace house, you have 2-story like that with a staircase, right? For the apartment, it's going to be laid out horizontally. And what is this going to affect? The living experience. So just now from Wendy, she said that she needs to chase up and down, forget things, go up and down within the unit, and kids all live upstairs, the parents downstairs. Sometimes I do feel it also when I was living with my in-law. Everybody just stay upstairs, nobody wants to come down. And it's going to be a problem, especially when we age. If your knees, right, you didn't work on your knees, you didn't work on your glutes, it's going to be a painful process to actually go up and come down, go up and come down. Personal experience, as a young father, when the baby was in the house, we live in the 3rd floor, but the kitchen was the 1st floor. So every time when we need to feed the baby in the midnight, I need to come down 3-story to get water, heat up, then go upstairs. By the time I prepare the milk, right, he's not hungry already. And this process always happen in the dark, then it's not very, very friendly. And if you are going to take care of your kid yourself, right, even if you leave the kid upstairs sleeping alone, you dare not go downstairs also. So you cannot do your laundry while taking care of the kid. You cannot do anything while taking care of the kid because it's separated into floors. The sense of partition is very, very strong for landed houses. So if you have a very big family, very good. But practically, right, if your son at home also, you don't know sometimes. On a single level setting, then is absolutely friendly, and there are a lot of designs in the market right now where there's gradient in and gradient out between the difference of levels. I absolutely enjoy the detail. It's not that difficult to do, so I encourage more developers to do it. So when you push stroller in, when you push your trolley in, it's just a very pleasant feel, and it's very kind to the knees, especially for elderlies. So if you just think about it, right? If I have elderly at home with mobility issues, like a wheelchair, or need some form of assistance, actually a single story format makes more sense. And in Wendy's case, she shared her experience. The sense of space is better felt within the apartment setting compared to the landed setting. Because landed, right, we need to think about, okay, this is terrace house. If it's a semi-D, then it feels nice because of the openings on every side. But on apartments at 2000, 2005, right, usually it's a corner unit really, because it's very hard to cramp up such big units within the center of a layout one. Very rare. So 2000 square feet units within KL is usually very well designed. You will have a proper foyer, proper dining, and windows all around lah. Then next, let's talk about money issue. Okay, so when we talk about a 2000 square feet unit of apartment, let's set a budget of 1.8 million, 1.6 million. You will have a very comfortable one among Mont Kiara, around Hatamas. Around Tropicana also got some, Damansara also got some. Not many projects with 2,000 square feet and above projects. Mangsa South also got. But within this price range, you get a very well positioned large unit of apartment within city center. So it's going to be very helpful, especially if you are still in a stage that you want to hustle, you need to go meetings every day in KL, right? So this kind of format works pretty well. But if you are in the landed of 2,000 square feet, technically terrace houses is about 1,006 to 1,007 right now, where you have a 22 by 75 format. A brand new one within Elmina is around 1,900,000, and this we are talking about Elmina Green series. We are not talking about Elmina Valley series where it's sub-sale just yet. Then if you talk about Subang USJ, intermediate is around 800 to 900,000. Corner lot is around 1.3 to 1.5. If you look into Setia Alam, it's also the same. Then after acquiring the unit, we then need to think about the renovation costs, where there are just more canvas space for landed units to be renovated. So you will have a lot of structural change, and often the time that comes with costs lah. So you want to extend your kitchen at the back, extend the rooms upstairs, push out the car porch, push out the master bedroom in front, right? Usually those are the standard renovations. But for apartment, you cannot do any structural change. So that limits and sets a boundary to the renovation cost already. So at most you can do is finishings. So even with a 200,000 or 300,000 budget of renovation cost, right? You dump into a landed versus dump into an apartment, you're going to feel the 300,000 way more in an apartment format compared to a landed, just because of the potential area to spend on renovation lah. That part of the architecture as well. Landed houses, they have more areas that are exposed to sun. Therefore, the temperature of the house is way higher compared to a high-rise. And if you think about it, right, high-rise, it also means that not enough space for exposure of sunlight lah, as you only have the facade line. And if the apartment is not designed well, the area of facade for the unit is not as big, then we're going to have a problem. But for large units, that's for example 2,000 square feet and above, right, confirm your living room will have access to it. Principal bedroom, bedroom 1, bedroom 2, bedroom 3, maybe you face a void. And that's a very comfortable configuration compared to a landed. Because landed usually is just hot, but at least the roof is yours. So you can actually install solar panels to kind of reduce your electricity bill or whatsoever. But then high-rise, then you cannot lah. The most you can do is to tint or to change the window, but you can only change back to the original spec of form. But usually nobody do it. At most they will just tint it lah. Right? At most they will just tint it. Speaking based on experience, we stay in a high-rise for almost 2 years already. Generally, every time when we go and visit our parents, exactly like what Wendy shared, the temperature in landed houses are just higher all the time. And here we can somewhat talk about orientation a little bit. A lot of people don't understand the concept of north-south orientation. Like why when we pick properties are shown, it's important to pick north-facing or south-facing. For apartments, usually smaller units are right, smaller units, around 1,000 square feet, your balcony is always the same direction of orientation with your principal bedroom. But that's the access to facade, always is the same facade line. So if your facade line faces west, it means you are facing facing the western sun. Every time when you come back home, your balcony, your master bedroom, open the window, is sun directly going into the unit. Therefore, it heats up the room, it heats up the wall, and after the concrete walls absorb all the heat, when do they release? At night. That's why after at night, you still feel very warm. So when we pick houses, what we want is daylight, what we don't want is sunlight. Daylight is sunlight reflected by the sky, sunlight is sunlight, like the one that actually brings in heat. So personally, if the layout of the unit is really east and west facing only, which one would I pick? I would pick the east, because everybody should wake up already ma. So when the sun rises, everybody wake up, yay. Then when it's evening time, I'll be less dependent on air conditioning, so my electrical bills won't be so high lor. And in the landed context, then it may be slightly different for corner lots, but intermediate lots is the same concept, where if your intermediate lots like that, right, usually the principal bedroom is facing the front, your small bedroom is facing the back. And if you face the sun directly, same issue where you have the evening sun shining directly into the house, heating it up. But if you orientate the building facing it away, then you got very minimal surface area facing the sun. However, if it's a corner lot, you got more openings. Therefore, the story might be a little bit different, because now you have the long facade having a larger area for sun, instead of the shorter facade having more area for the sun. So this is a debate that I did during my degree days. Technically, I think the bigger surface area should be away from sun, not the short facade. But most of the time, the entire landed development is oriented based on majority. So as long as the whole row of houses is aligned to the right orientation, that is fine. So the corner lots, usually you don't have to sell, also they sold out one. So orientation is the least of their problem. From an investment point of view, then in terms of rental, I think the demand for rental for apartments will be generally higher compared to the landed property, especially a terrace house versus a 2,000 square feet apartment, right? Like the one that the makeover guys did for Residency 22 in Mont Kiara, we rented out at 13 to 15,000 per month, and it's pretty easily out. The demand is just so high for such typologies within the area because of the expat bringing in their family. So they will just position their family there while they work in KL. So it's a very nice community of expats there. That's the main reason. In Bangsar South, like we talked about Bond Estate before, the CEO Jim Moy actually shared the figures where the capital appreciation for their larger units, right, is incredible, up to 30-40%. And that ties back to the original intention of why I'm seeing such movement of focusing very small units versus focusing very big units, because all units of different sizes within the center, right, are all done. Let's talk about like 900 square feet units, right? In the market, it's in abundance. But if I want to look for a unit that is around 2,000, which is the size that I'm currently looking for to rent, so for anybody who has any recommendation for large units above 2,000 square feet, right, I'm actually exploring places to rent. It would be good for me to check it out. Or you guys have any units you want to rent to me, also fine. I'm open to rent. But in terms of capital appreciation, it still cites to landed properties, because if you look into NAPIC's latest data, also landed properties, especially terrace house, is position number 1 in capital appreciation. But closely next to that will be apartments. But apartments, they don't specify sizes. So I wish NAPIC would have worked better on the sizes, where anything less than 1,000 square feet got one category, anything more than 1,005 square feet, there will be another category. And because of this story, I am having that hypothesis. Maybe larger units of apartments will be a better investment alternative moving forward compared to the standard small ones. Because as a tenant myself, right, looking for an apartment design with 4 bedrooms, right, it's pretty challenging actually. There's not many choices of apartments that provides 4 bedrooms. 3+1 got, where the +1 is like the utility or for the maid's room, right? That one a lot. But then for 4 bedrooms, solid 4 bedrooms, right, or 4+1, those are pretty rare. Only in Mont Kiara you have a lot of such things. In other places, not much. By default, we will all position ourselves. You want 4 bedrooms, just move into a terrace house lah. Easy, Sean. So easy. Rental also cheaper, bro. So that's kind of my struggle right now. If I were to move into a landed, actually it's cheaper in terms of rent, but the condition of the house usually is not furnished to the extent of an apartment, and I still enjoy apartment living experience so far. But these are still in hypothesis stage. I'm not too sure yet. So maybe if you are thinking about it, right, do share your experience and do share your idea, do share your point of view with me. But for Wendy, I'll text you separately. Maybe I can go and visit your beautiful home. But schedule has been a bit crazy so far. So I'm literally squeezing this between a webinar and a public talk later that I'm gonna go. Anyway, congratulations on the beautiful home. Congratulations in finding the home that is suitable for you. And one more thing, after both of the kids grow up, right, you can easily downsize later while this can be rented out. That also is a selling point in this example. Of course, I do see a lot of people will be thinking about, hey, the maintenance fee is going to be a lot because your build up is big. But a lot of expenses within landed houses, people just don't want to quantify, or people just don't do it. Like for house maintenance, gate maintenance, titi-tata, right? It's not a fixed cost that you must do. If can delay, then I will not do it this month. Before Chinese New Year, I will paint the house only. The rest, right, I will not paint as long as I can. Until I need to sell, right, then I just might as well don't paint. Usually that's the cases for individual title houses. But do share with me your thoughts. It definitely feels very good to inspire people to find the house of their liking, find the investment of their choice. Ultimately, it's making that informed decision, which is the North Star of the channel. And with that, thank you very much for sending in the email, Wendy. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. And if you guys still have any questions regarding real estate, do just email me at tanihereng@gmail.com. You can just DM me on Instagram, ihereng. We are actually approaching 100,000 subscribers. It may not be a lot, but it means something to me. So yeah, please do hit the subscribe button, share with your friends, and I will see you guys on the next one. Ciao.